Thank you for listening to The Luminous Mind. Remember to subscribe to our free podcast so you won't miss any of our illuminating content. Here is episode 158.
People should just educate and research and, learn about what's going on, because the more aware we all are, the better off I think we become.
Benjamin Franklin once said, "Do not curse the darkness, rather light a candle instead." If you're ready to set your mind on fire, then prepare yourself for the Luminous Mind with your host, Rebecca Bowman.
Today's fire starters are Michelle and Jeff Chapin. Michelle and Jeff run Humble Hounds Farm while homeschooling their oldest girls and wrangling a 3-year-old Marigold, I assume is her name, and 6-month-old twin brothers, Cedar and Forrest. Michelle handles the farm marketing and social media. She's currently organizing the kids' homeschool craft fair for a local community, and Jeff takes care of livestock, farm drops, and farm markets. He also tutored and mentored autistic children since 2002. They choose homeschooling for their little ones because there are too many opportunities to excel and enhance education with technology and a supportive community. It has become a real blessing for their family. Welcome, Michelle and Jeff.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you. Great. Okay, Jeff is there too. We have a slight delay, so if it takes him a while to answer, we know why, because of our delay. But before we get going with all of the wonderful things that we talked about in your bio, do you want to just tell our audience a little bit more about yourselves?
Sure. My name is Michelle, and I have 5 little ones, and I'm married to Jeff, and we live here on our farm, Humble Hands Farm. And yeah, just like you just said, we homeschool and farm, and yeah, we're just always very busy.
Well, that's awesome. I want to hear the story of your journey of what led you to this farming, homeschooling life that you have.
Well, we started out, we got married, and we were just looking to build a natural, God-driven life. My wife got into midwifery and home birth, and we had our first girls at home. And then we decided as they got older that we were going to do homeschooling. And we also got into urban gardening and farming, and eventually decided that we were going to move out to some land that we own out here just outside of town.
Oh, great. And do you want to tell us a little bit maybe of how that journey kind of came through? It sounds like you guys were definitely both in the same mindset when you met, to kind of do this lifestyle. But what's the driving force behind that?
We just wanted to, when we met about 10 years ago, we both just really wanted to kind of not live mainstream lives and just kind of be more natural and sustainable. And so we kind of just made baby steps towards living that kind of life. And yeah, it's just been kind of like baby steps for 10 years. And we only started farming 2 years ago. So it's really taken all that time for us to come from the idea of wanting to live sustainably all the way to right now living on a farm and growing our own food and homeschooling and everything.
Well, and everything on your farm also sustains your life, correct? So it's kind of an entrepreneurial type farm, correct?
Yes, absolutely. My husband still works a few days a week part-time in the city. He works with some autistic children and does tutoring. And then we're trying to make it so that he's working from home full-time on the farm. Just because our life flows so much easier when we're all together as a family, and he's here helping me with the homeschool, and we're all doing the farming together. So that's our goal, is for him to be here full time.
That was great. So what were the questions that you asked yourself to move to this type of lifestyle? Sometimes kids are just raised this way, and so then they just expound upon what they've been already taught. But yeah. I didn't know if that was the case, or if this was a kind of like a new thought for you and Michelle to be able to, move to kind of the farming type lifestyle.
Yeah, it was a very intentional thing where we decided we really were seeing issues in our family and friends and, just in a city life in general, where we were seeing that it was causing stress and anxiety in people. And we were like, is there something to having a slower life? Kind of the slow food movement.
Yeah.
I don't know if you heard of that, but the idea that, you have a more contemplative life, that you take things a little bit slower and you do things more intentionally, and that is better for your mental health, not to mention, other aspects of it as far as
keeping your family together and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Were those some of the things that you were seeing, maybe, is like the breakdown of the family too? Like everyone's just coming and going so much that, you don't have time to really strengthen those relationships.
Yeah, I mean, we both grew up having family dinners. And at some point we realized we were having a hard time having family dinners in our family. We were like, well, we need to change this. We need to take the time to make this happen, because those that where you're all together a little bit more often, and you're taking the time to just get to know each other better and have better communication. It makes all the difference in the world as far as, your family and where your family ends up going and the kinds of experiences your family has. So.
Well, and they say, too, like the family dinner and more family time actually adds to the success of, academic success of your own children. But then on top of that, you chose to homeschool. Was that part of that, too, of wanting to just slow it down and not have to conform to, like, the societal timelines of, of what was expected of you that way?
Yes, in part. And we were thinking, it's got to be crazy to try to get up a certain hour and take all the kids to different schools and get home on time and then be able to take care of other babies and then get back to them in the afternoon and then go to, after school activities. We consciously decided, we're going to do a few activities with the girls as far as extracurriculars, but we're going to do them, in an order, a little bit slower way, or we're going to do them one at a time. We're not going to do on top of each other. I mean, there's some really crazy schedules I've heard of people trying to rearrange with other family members and grandparents and stuff to pick people up because they can't do it. They're all at work or, and it just gets to be way too much. You start to realize that it's causing dysfunction.
Yeah. We see that all over in our society too, right? So,
yeah.
So then you made the move to have your own farm, maybe kind of have your own property in a way to grow, your family the way that you saw fit. How did you make that happen? And were you raised on a farm, or were there resources and stuff that you found to help you do that?
No, we were not raised on a farm. We started looking into owning land outside of the city back in, we bought the land in 2005, but we didn't have the resources to do it ourselves. So we ended up buying it with two families at the time, and then we had two other friends and their wives joined us. So we now have 4 families that own the land.
Oh, that's cool. So it's kind of a shared farm, it sounds like.
Yeah,
awesome.
And they take advantage of it. They do some gardening and some orchards and a little bit of hunting here and there. So we kind of take advantage of it in different ways. We do a lot of camping there. So then, like, when you're sharing this with a family, you just each pick, like, the thing that the passion that you have for that land, like maybe one, you talked about orchards, does one take care of the orchard and then another family take care of farm animals, or how do you work that out between all the families? Oh, well, as it ends up, as we bought the land before we had kids. And so we started off gung-ho, and it was, just us in our 20s, and we were going, building stuff, and we ended up building an earthship, and we ended up clearing some road and clearing some areas here and there and doing that kind of thing. But now that everybody started having kids, now it's really slowed down what we can do with the land. And so a lot of them are not actively involved, at least most of the year, but a few of them will come out, for camping or to go hunting or to tend to the orchard or wherever. So we're the only active. They're kind of actually glad that we're out there now because we're the only active family.
Managing the land and stuff like that too. So that was great. Well, let's talk about what you feel like this has done for yourself, your own personal growth, maybe what you're expecting out of, because you have young children, right, that aren't necessarily able to help on the farm at this point, right? Am I correct?
The 7 and 8 year old help a bit, but as they're getting older, they're starting to help out a lot more on chores and such.
Yeah, so I want to hear, like, what your kind of end goal is for raising your kids on a farm. Like your own personal development of how you think this has changed your feeling and your paradigm about your life and how that's changed, and then how you expect that to kind of move generational for your own children.
My paradigm, it's shown us that you'd hear it from farmers that, they'd say, well, you don't really understand it unless you have a connection to the land. And nobody's really ever explained that. And I think that it has to do with actually working with, and you get this if you garden. You can get this if you garden and you're in an urban setting, or if you have backyard chickens, and you start to see, wow, it's really important. I can't just spray chemicals on my lawn because it's going to kill all the bugs that help my plants or the bugs that my chickens are eating. And you start to see how you treat things is you have to be very mindful. You can't just do things as society's always done them, or, as the green revolution, whatever, with chemicals and all that has shown that, we can suppress the natural biotic interrelationships in nature. It just doesn't work. Nature's set up to be a dance or an orchestra of so many different aspects, from the microbiota all the way to, the large animals that you have, or you. We need to think about, people are learning this about their digestive systems, right? They're adding in probiotics and things like that. They realize that the probiotics actually help keep the bad ones in check, right? And the same thing works with your land and your yard and your garden. The whole idea is that you want as many good aspects as possible, right? You want to encourage that. You don't want to suppress, because when you suppress, that's when people get really sick. So.
Well, and what I'm kind of getting out of it is that sometimes when we take actions, we're kind of a reactionary society. Like we think that if we do this one thing and we do it really fast, that it will help this thing, but we don't really think about the unintended consequences of some of those actions. And that relates even with our food. Yeah, our food and our education and everything, that sometimes when we just react, we aren't letting the natural, even natural learning, natural ways that we live our life, like you said, it's all sustainable. It's in a dance. And when we react, sometimes we can really, stop the wonderful natural progression, and it ends up doing us more harm. Is that?
Yeah. And I think science is proving that more and more every day as we start to there's so many things, so many aspects that we don't understand yet. And we've gotten to this point where we have this audacity about, we know everything about the natural world. We don't. There's so many aspects we don't understand how they work together that, it's just really cool to see all the new discoveries we're having. I thought it was just amazing when I started reading about, that there's actually a way to farm that's healthy.
Yeah.
It just blew my mind. And so that was, it really changed a lot of things for us.
Well, and being close to land, like you said, it all of a sudden opens your ideas of how, delicate our life system really is, and that we don't take that for granted. I think a lot of people don't even realize how their food is raised. I had heard recently that, they're actually contemplating, we have chickens here, we butcher them, we send them to China, which I'm like, how many weeks is that? You freeze them and then you have to freeze them.
Yeah.
And then they process them there and then they ship them back. And how, that food is just it's just old at that point. It's not very fresh. You lose a lot of nutrients. And I kind of wondered, in your bio, we talked about you're a tutor for autistic and, those type of children. Are we seeing that, like, within our food sources? Sometimes when we add in these chemicals, like we talked about before, they have unintended consequences of what that might do to our brain function and our mental health and all of those things. What is your thoughts on that?
There really hasn't been enough study done on it, but when you get into the community, there's a lot of families that are like us that are just starting to, and it's kind of been one of the many aspects that's pushed the natural and organic food movement to blossom like it has. And the farmers markets are becoming a lot more popular. It really gives support to that because people are just they realize that there's consequences when they start to see, different behaviors and things like that they can't explain, or different diseases.
Exactly. Awesome.
So tell me, what do you feel like some challenges that you had along the way of trying to create this life for yourself? I mean, it doesn't sound like it came easy to just decide to do this and make it happen.
Right. It's been so challenging, but that doesn't mean that we haven't enjoyed it, so much along the way. I mean, it's been so much fun. But yeah, it's been very, very challenging. We had to, when we first moved out to the land, we lived completely off the grid, didn't have any electricity, running water, anything. Mm-hmm. We kind of started from scratch. And also just financially trying to figure out, how do we cut back on my husband's full-time job? How do I stay at home with the kids? How do we make finances work? So we kind of had to learn to be very frugal, just very mindful where we spend our money, how much we spend, that kind of thing. So yeah, we've had a lot of challenges trying to get where we are today.
And what do you feel like you've learned from those? What's what knowledge have you gained from that?
Oh, well, we've gained the idea that being entrepreneurs has opened up our opportunities and freedom with our children and our lifestyle in order to be able to spend the time with each other and support each other. It's really made us think about what's important in life and what we value, and that we value family and community and trying to just make our lives and other people's lives better. So.
Well, and really, we all kind of struggle like that as Americans, right? Like, we're so into our materialism and kind of the craziness of trying to live in the kind of the urban lifestyle. Was that kind of a driving force, too, that maybe you wanted more connectedness than what you had before? Instead of families coming and going, that you're all there together, working together?
Oh, absolutely. One thing that I noticed when we first moved a little bit away from the city was just so many less distractions. We were so busy when we lived right in town, and we were kind of just like trying to keep up with everyone, just being busy all the time. And we kind of realized that when we moved out here to the farm, the things that we were busy with weren't really that important. And coming out here, everyone says that, in the country, it seems like your days are longer. It's really just because I think there's just less distraction. I mean, we wake up and every single thing we do during the day has a purpose. From, taking care of all of our animals, taking care of the house, homeschooling, taking care of the kids. There really isn't any, busy work. It all is very, full of purpose.
Yeah, meaningful and stuff.
Yes.
And your life feels like it has more meaning type of thing, correct?
Absolutely, yes.
That's great.
I kind of talked about that just at the previous question. Our paradigm has changed because we've really started to understand how if we take the time to support other people, that we end up having more time for ourselves as well, and that the entrepreneurial things we're doing and trying to support our family just become multipliers as far as blessings on our family. So it really has given us a lot of things to think about as far as what we value.
Yeah. Well, and one of the cool things I think, too, about kind of what you were saying is that when you are busy serving and taking care of other people through your own entrepreneurial needs, that maybe there's a connectedness there, too, that you have a lot more meaning and purpose in your life as you're trying to take care of your family through those entrepreneurial means. Is that what your thoughts on that?
We've begun doing a lot of activities in the local cities here, farm markets, and educational activities at some local venues, and being involved with church and such. We've really begun to see the benefits of service to our community, and they've really opened up to us. It's one of those things where you just start doing it, and all of a sudden you've got a whole lot more support than you realized.
Yeah, made those connections, so...
Before we go on, let's listen to this message. Recently, the Luminous Mind became an affiliate for EduSense, which offers tremendous discounts on educational supplies. I personally use EduSense to purchase our family supplies because of their great prices, responsive shipping times, and best of all, the chance to earn EduBucks, which I use towards future purchases. Who doesn't love a great deal within a deal? To get a 90% savings on your EduSense materials, go to theluminousmind.net and click on the sponsor page to find the affiliate link. Start using EduSense to illuminate your educational experience. Welcome back to The Luminous Mind with Michelle and Jeff, gaining freedom through humble hands farming. Do you want to go ahead and tell our audience maybe a little bit more about like what your entrepreneurial means of taking care of your family is and what you're doing with your farm?
We do pasture-fed animals, so we do pork and chicken, and we do some layer hens as well for eggs for ourselves, and we really don't have a lot of eggs right now, so we don't have a lot of egg customers, but we do it for some families. So that's really the farm side. We go to markets now in our local town, Zanesville, and we may end up expanding that and doing some other farm markets as well. I also do tutoring, and we do essential oils for our family's health, and then we provide that as a service to other people as well in sales. We also do barefoot books to help support the girls' curriculum.
And is that an affiliate type thing? Like you're an affiliate for them?
Yep, those are both affiliate programs.
Great. And tell us a little bit more about like your daily life and kind of what that looks like as far as with your homeschooling and different things like that and all of the responsibilities that you have with the farm.
I'll answer that one. So every day looks a little bit different, but basically, for the most part, we get up really early and, everyone has breakfast together and we all help out with the farm chores for the morning. Jeff does the bulk of it, but the kids help too, feed the chickens and the rabbits and help with whatever he needs help with. And then we just kind of, a lot of our homeschooling is actually child-led, so every day is a little different depending on what the girls are interested in and just what they're kind of in the mood to do that day and what I'm in the mood to teach and things like that. And so we'll either work on, workbooks, sewing. Today we did canning. We always have, seriously, so many projects going on. Sometimes we'll go to town and meet up with some other homeschoolers and do projects together or just, to be in community together. And, yeah, our days just flow really nicely, especially when Jeff's home with us. We just kind of all work together as a team and just get things done. We're always in the kitchen cooking. And, so every day looks a little different, but that's pretty much the basic.
Great. And tell me, like, the name of their website is The Humble Hands Farm. Give us an idea of what's behind that inspiration of that name and also the blog and stuff that they can find on your website as well.
Humble Hands Farm, we thought that we needed to focus on having humility as far as the focus goes for our family business. And so we thought that would be a good umbrella. And then we brought all of our multiple small family businesses underneath that as far as the website goes, and really just began blogging about our experiences as we moved out to the land.
That's awesome. And how do you feel like the mentoring that you're doing with the farm is making a significant difference in your success?
I don't know how much we actually mentor other people. We just hope that if we set the best example for ourselves and for our family and try to, keep in mind the example of others that have been set before us, some of the leaders in our community and some of the leaders in the farming community, Joel Salatin and some others, and, like our church pastors and things, we hope that we can set a good example, and that if we set a good example, then, that helps multiply for other people, and that they can appreciate that, and hopefully that'll inspire them as well. We're inspired by many, many thousands of people. It just, humbles us that we would be able to join in that.
Yeah, that really is the key to being able to better serve other people too, is, through your example, more so than you're telling people or forcing them to do something, but definitely through more of a mentoring thing like that, correct?
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, that's really been the kind of the driving force for our family is just to do as we would have done to us. So
yeah, great.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, the resources that you found. I mean, since you weren't raised in a farming environment, how did you it's a little bit more difficult than just deciding you want to own some chickens or, grow this or that, right? What are some resources that you used?
So, like I said, when we realized that we were going to at least try to move out to the land, or we actually looked at buying other properties before we decided to. But when we realized that we wanted to do that, we started really investing, and we started reading lots and lots of books as well. We thought we read Bring It to the Table with Wendell Berry, which really changes your attitude about where your food comes from, how it gets there and how important that is, and how we treat the land, that it's very important to keep it sustainable, and just the whole idea that our industrial agricultural system is not sustainable as it is right now. It's really not treating the land as it should be. And then Gaining Ground by Forrest Pritchard was a really good one. It's a book about him and his story of he grew up on a farm, and at some point his parents stopped working on the farm, and he decided that he was going to reinvigorate it. And, he was also influenced, I believe, by Joel Salatin. I think Joel Salatin does the forward on his book. And Joel Salatin I don't know if you read any of his books, but he's really excellent. He's been doing this for quite a while now. He grew up on a farm. His parents bought their farm when they were 40 or so and started farming. And he's really been quite a leader. His books that I've read are Folks, This Ain't Normal, and Everything I Want to Do Is Illegal. And he actually has quite a few other books out specifically about how to raise meat chickens and how to raise cattle. He talks about a highly rotational, almost literally daily for some of the animals. We rotate our chickens twice daily, so they're getting fresh pasture all the time. He rotates his cattle, I think, at least once every day or once every other day, so they're not, destroying the land at all. And in that way, he actually builds soil because he's adding all of the nitrogen and phosphates from their manure to the ground, and his farm builds soil on the pasture land faster than a forest does.
Oh, wow.
So it's really kind of an amazing idea to think that the animals you're raising become part of the solution to, the way that we traditionally think of how land is being destroyed and, by farming and by other human activities. So,
yeah. So what do you feel like habits that you have in your personal life that are helpful to you and to your family that help make you successful?
List making, recycling, or donating toys. As we fill up the house, we end up, bringing those and taking those to homeless shelters or Goodwill, and showing the girls that if they don't have a need for it anymore, that we should let somebody else enjoy it. Clothes swapping. One of the things Michelle was telling me the other day is that we haven't had to buy the boys, with the twin boys now, we haven't had to buy them any clothing yet. It was literally, traded and gotten hand-me-downs and things like that from people. It's amazing.
That is cool. The way that community is helping you. I mean, fostering the community, and then it's also helping you as well.
Yeah.
Awesome. What would be your advice to other families and parents, and with like your education, everything kind of involved? What's your overall, advice to some parents out there, kind of the direction that you'd like to see things move?
People should just educate and research and, learn about what's going on, because the more aware we all are, the better off I think we become, because, the more people that make the choice to spend their dollar, at a farmer's market rather than a grocery store, the better off everybody is, right? We realize that, if you know your farmer, you know exactly where your foods come from, how it was raised, and in that way you'll be able to trust what you're putting in your child's mouth and how they're going to grow. And that's so important. I don't think we realize, the old saying, we are what we eat, right? But it's just so true.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, we don't understand maybe the dyes and chemicals that have been put in there just to make the food look good, when in fact it's really toxic for our own bodies.
Yeah,
That's
Yep.
great.
So more and more people looking for their own. So
Great. And then give us some ideas. I mean, we talked a little bit about your website, but are there ways that you're trying to make this go? You know, we talked about you're doing some tutoring. You have to go into the city, a few times a week. But what are some ways that you're trying to make this farm kind of pay for itself so that you can be joined together as a family?
the more people that join our farm drops and our buyers club, the better. I do drops before and after my tutor clients. So, when I'm in the city and I'll just bring food in when people order it. But the more people buy that, the better off we're going to be, right? Because then I can spend more time doing that and less time away from the family. And the more money spent on the good food, the more time I have to spend helping those animals and making their life better and all that. So.
Great. And they can find being part of that food drop on your website, correct?
Yeah, they can just email us or message us on Facebook. That's how most of our communication goes. We haven't done any sales of actual food on the website because it's hard to ship, and each one's a different price, and I'd have 1,000 different items on there, all different prices because of the weights of the meat. But we're selling retail items and things that have to do with the essential oils, and we'll eventually get more T-shirts and tote bags up there for farm drops and things like that people can order. But it's hard to ship meat in the mail. So.
Yeah, exactly. So tell me, what are some long-term goals that you have for yourself, and how do you feel like that's going to work into maybe a legacy? What do you hope that will be?
We just hope to be able to, instill skills and resources for our children, and they would have the ability to replicate this or, to carry it on and to be able to provide food for the community and for themselves as a family and understand how important that is, because the way our food systems have gone, it's traditionally not as trustworthy as it used to be. So,
yeah, exactly.
One of the amazing things that Michelle's been doing in the last 6 months that she realized she wouldn't have much opportunity to not be nursing was to take advantage of that. And actually, she's been, watching these business and marketing videos for months now, and it's just amazing how much she's accomplished.
Yeah, that is kind of fun how learning and education's right at our fingertips, right, to learn almost anything.
Mm-hmm.
Well, tell us, what are some final parting words that you have for our listeners? And then give us your contact information, how they can get in touch with you and read your blog and maybe get some of your products.
Okay. I would say be resourceful. Don't wait for the right time or the right money to come along. There's so many, like I said, there's so many online resources these days. You really have the opportunity to just dig in. The first year out here, we started just buying animals and learning how to take care of them as we go. So whatever you're interested in, there's got to be opportunities to do it. Even if you start small and, like you said, baby step into it.
That's great. And then your contact information, how our listeners can get in touch with you?
Yeah, at humblehands.co. Michelle is on Instagram at Michelle Chapin. I'm on Instagram at Humble Hands Farm. And, of course, on Facebook at Humble Hands Farm.
Well, that's great. We will also be sure to link up their website as well as some of their social media sites up on our website as well. And so please go ahead and check them out. And also, thank you so much, Michelle and Jeff, for coming on our podcast today and helping light minds on fire. We appreciate it.
Thank you. It was fun.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to The Luminous Mind. To learn more about Michelle and Jeff Chapin, go to our show notes at theluminousmind.net. Be sure to become a subscriber to our free email list and get our new monthly newsletter. Then check out the Services tab to see how we can continue to assist you, our fire starters. Also, to help us continue production of illuminating content, go to the Sponsor tab at theluminousmind.net. for more information on sponsorship and affiliate programs. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, Google+, Pinterest, and now Instagram. Get our free audio content by subscribing on YouTube, iTunes, and Stitcher. To help us grow, consider these easy ways. Tell your friends about us, leave us a review, share our content. Tell us how we can help you so together we can continue to light minds on fire and change the paradigm of education.